Everyone, up to Max here. Today we have another YouTube video. We're going to be talking about the best reroll compositions to play on the current patch. A quick reminder, if you like these sort of videos or if you learn things from them, make sure you join the Discord channel. This will be in the pinned comment and also the description of this video. So today we're going to be talking about 5 different compositions, and all of them are going to be 2-cost reroll. So Urgot, Camille, Zeri, Tristana, and Nocturne, all 5 are very strong with a certain condition. So I'll be talking about what those conditions are and when exactly to be playing these compositions. Okay, so the first one, Urgot, this is easily the best reroll composition on the current patch. However, there are a couple conditions to play this. So the first one is that it's going to be Unleash the Beast and Innervating Locket. These two are going to be the main conditions to play this level 6 composition, and this comp is going to be a physical damage burst board. The other conditions to play this composition is going to be Caretaker's Ally / Worth the Wait 2. So these are also going to be extremely well, or if you have an Urgot start, melee items, and a reasonable augment. The reason why Unleash the Beast is so strong, Sterix is already one of Urgot's best items, if not his best, and by stacking multiple Sterix, you're able to not only bypass crowd control, which is going to be extremely important, and also you'll be gaining a lot of attack speed, be able to do a lot of damage, tank the damage through Omnivamp, and really drain tank for your board. One last thing to note is Urgot has built-in Sunder through his ability. However, this is only 20% compared to a Last Whisper or an Even Shroud 30%. Okay, so let's get straight into what the level 6 board is going to look like. So this is going to be the board you're going to be rolling for. Most of the time on 3-2, sometimes you will have to do this on 3-5 if it's a no gold Krugs, or if it's just a very low econ Galaxy. You're going level 6, roll for this generic board, and also to stabilize with Urgot 2. So this includes Trundle, Gangplank, Nunu, Zyra, Tristana. Just going to be playing 3 Experiment, 2 Artillerist, 2 Bruiser, 2 Pit Fighter, and if you don't hit Unleash, which is going to be most of the time, Trundle is a lot better, which means you're also able to scrap an extra component onto the Gangplank or the Trundle too. So let's talk about what Urgot Beast is. If you have Unleash the Beast, this is going to be very simple. Triple Sterix. If you do not have Unleash the Beast, then you'll be going Bloodthirster, Titans, and Sterix. For Tristana, if you have no Unleash the Beast Urgot, then I think it's much more reasonable to be going for the Tristana 3 and itemizing her with the Rage Blade, Infinity Edge, and Gunblade as her Beast. However, if you do have Unleash the Beast, then you can really bypass the Tristana 3, just hit the Urgot 3 with triple Sterix, or at least double Sterix plus like a Titans, and then go level 8, fit in that 4 Artillerists, and dual carry the Corki, which holds similar items, but instead of so much attack, auto attack damage, it's more ability damage, hence the Infinity Edge, Last Whisper, and some damage amp. If you have no open components, most of the time you're going to be wanting to default swords off of Carousel. Urgot uses a lot of swords, and then all of the Artillerists will also use a lot of swords. Regarding the binding of the experiments, you want to be binding the Urgot and the Zyra. So Urgot getting that shield, Zyra also giving the Urgot more damage, so avoid binding the Nunu in this setup. As mentioned on the previous slide, Urgot does shred 20% or sunder 20%. However, you will want to find some sort of stronger sunder late game, either an Even Shroud or a Last Whisper, but for the early game up until about stage 4, you don't have to worry about this. Urgot uses a couple really good artifacts. So the first one and the best one being Innervating Locket, as you can see here from the Delta. Death's Defiance is also quite good on him, and you'll be pairing these 2 artifacts with a Sterix plus the Titans, so you'll be bypassing the Bloodthirster. If you have Unleash the Beast, then you will be going Sterix times 2 plus the artifact of either Locket or Death's Defiance. This is what your board is really going to look like on level 8. You're going to want to play 4 Artillerists, so you'll be adding in the Corki and Ezreal and replacing the Trundle with Annalise. It has not too many great Sunfire holders because the Gangplank and Nunu will die pretty fast. Urgot is going to be your frontline for most of this composition, and Elise can die rather fast as well, so either put your healing reduction Sunfire cape on the Elise or red buff on the Ezreal or Corki. Let's move on to the best install artifacts to go along with this composition. Unleash the Beast is going to be the best. If you see this on 2-1, this is essentially an invitation to hard force Urgot reroll. Rocket Collection is good as well, gives you a bit more damage, and also a Collector. Portable Forge, fishing for either Death's Defiance or Innervating Locket. If you get one of these two on 2-1, you can angle into this composition. If not, then you can play whatever Portable Forge offers you. Experiment, Crest, or Crown, you're able to eventually play 5 Experiment. Immovable Object, just more tankiness. Caretaker's Ally, and worth the wait too. If you get these for Urgot, then you could definitely play into this composition as well. But I would not play into this if you have Tristana reroll. That will be a different composition. There are a couple more augments that have specific conditions to them. For example, Artillerist Crest and Crown. Also Find Your Center. These two have their conditions, so you will be wanting to take Artillerist Crest / Crown if you already have a +1 Artillerist. This can come from let's say like a Wandering Trainer or the Wandering Golems. If you already have this, then this will essentially allow you to play 6 Artillerists, and that is extremely strong. And Finder Center will be playable if the Experiment Hex is in the very center of the board. So extremely strong composition. Let's move on to the best in slot anomalies now. So Urgot's role in this comp is to drain tank, which means to deal damage, take a lot of damage, and you'll be healing off of the damage that you deal and casting often because you're getting mana fed by the enemy. This means instead of going for purely offensive anomalies such as like Comeback Story, you want to be going for more tank ones such as Bulwark and Stone Skin. Because most of the time the Elise, Gangplank, and Nunu are going to die rather fast, Urgot is going to be your solo frontline, so Stone Skin essentially gives him like a built-in gargoyles, same idea with the Bulwark. A couple other really good ones, Diving In, Last Chance, and Legacy of Shurima. Hunger for Power and Deep Roots have their own condition. So Hunger for Power, in this case, you'll be wanting to absorb the frontline Gangplank and give the Gangplank either a Warmox or a Deathblade. Remember, Hunger for Power transfer over HP plus attack damage. Deep Roots you will want to take if you have no CC immunity on the Urgot. For example, if you don't have Unleash the Beast, or if you don't have a Quicksilver or like a Banshees, then this is going to be a great anomaly to avoid getting stunned by the enemy board. Moving on to the second composition now is going to be Camille reroll. So this was quite a strong comp back in the day, but then got extremely nerfed. Now it is back after a few patches of buffs. This is going to be a level 6 composition and mainly doing physical damage. This is also going to be a burst board where you're trying to get to the enemy backline ASAP. There are a few conditions to play this composition. The first one is going to be artifacts. There are 3 artifacts that Camille really wants, with the 2 best being Spectral Cutlass and also Prowler's Claw. Silvermere Dawn is also good. It has a different build that you'll be pairing with this artifact, and it's definitely not as strong as the other 2, but still very playable. Ambusher +1 is strong. Not today, giving you the Edge of Night plus attack speed. Loot Expansion scales extremely well into the game, and if you hit Camille from worth the wait 2, then you are playing Camille reroll. The reason why Spectral Cutlass is so strong is essentially allows you to teleport to the enemy side of the board, assassinate their backline carry, such as like the Twitch, because Twitch cannot move as easily because of the Experiment Hex, so you're able to really get almost a guaranteed free matchup against the Twitch players. This is what the level 6 board is going to look like. We have a couple of variations here. So after leveling to 6 on 3-2, not only are you going to roll for your Camille 2, you're also going to roll for one of these boards. Now, Alawi and Echo are going to be your high rolls on level 6. If you hit these while rolling level 6, you're going to be in a really good spot. If not, then you'll essentially just play whatever frontline you hit. If you hit like a Leona 2, you could play Sentinel. If you hit a Twisted Fate instead, you could play 4 Enforcer. These are just a couple options that you want. However, the core is going to be Camille, Lores, Smeech, and Powder. The 2 best of slots, if you have the Spectral or the Prowlers, it's going to be a Hodge plus Edge of Night. However, with the Silvermere, since this will make Camille a lot tankier and deal a lot more damage, you just want double healing, which is going to be the Hodge and the Bloodthirster. In regards of Smeech, if you have a lot of Smeeches, if you have extra items and able to 3-star him while remaining on tempo, you can go for it, and he will use items such as the Bloodthirster, Titans, Hodge, and Edge of Night. If you have no open components, then you want to be defaulting gloves and swords off of Carousel, and as I mentioned, Alawi and Echo are extremely strong. Not only does it allow you to play 4 Ambusher on level 6, the Alawi is also going to be the best Sentinel that you could play until you hit the Rumble. Here's what the final board is going to look like. Ideally, you want an Ambusher +1. This will allow you to not only make your Rumble and Ambusher, you'll also be able to drop the Powder in the backline. You're going to be wanting to add in Garen, Echo, Scar, and Jinx eventually, and finish off with 5 Ambusher with Garen buffing up the Camille. Best install augments to go along with this comp is going to be that Ambusher +1 for what I just explained, Portable Forge, Fishing for either Prowlers, Silver Mirror, or Cutlass, and then a couple of the other ones are the conditions that I talked about earlier. A movable object is also going to be very, very good. Same with the Starry Night ticket being able to hit, and Over Encumbered to itemize more units. In regards of positioning, you want to make sure that Camille is on the edges and being able to kill the units that is right in front of her. So you want to be on the weak side of the enemy board and not stuck on a super tank such as like a Mundo. Best install Anomalies to go along with Camille. So Camille's role in this comp, as I just mentioned, is really to burst through the enemy front line and make it to the back line. So you really want to be putting like damage amp and a little bit of survivability on her, such as like the invisibility, last chance, bully, knockout, call the weak, and comeback story are also going to be very, very strong. One thing to note is bully loses a lot of value if you are in a reroll heavy lobby. Most of the time this will occur from Jace encounter because this will give you an artifact, and a lot of reroll compositions are artifact checks, so make sure that you're taking bully in non-reroll lobbies to make use of that extra damage amp. Moving on to kind of a newer reroll that emerged on this patch is going to be Zeri. This is also going to be a level 6 composition and is going to be a physical damage scaling board. Now the main condition to play this composition is to get that Firelight +1. By getting 4 Firelight in, this unlocks a new ability within this breakpoint, which gives you a massive amount of attack speed while you are flying, which is going to be great for Zeri. A couple of the other ones, Caretaker's Ally, worth the weight 2 of course, even Exalted Adventure, these all work for these 2 costs, very generic ones. Anger Issue specifically is a very good Zeri reroll composition. You want to be taking this on 3-2 if this will essentially tailor your game if you have the Zeri spot into Zeri reroll, or if you're already playing Zeri reroll, the best is when you hit this on 4-2 as well. The very last one is going to be an artifact. If you have Gambler's Blade or Collector, you can also lean into playing Zeri reroll. However, most of the time with Collector, you just want to go and play the Twitch. This is what your level 6 board is going to look like. Very basic, 4 Watcher, 2 Automata, 2 Firelight, and 2 Sniper. You're going to level to 6 on 3-2 and roll for Zeri 2 plus some frontline. Zeri Bis, so you have to remember that Zeri, her kit is a little bit different. Instead of generating mana and then using an ability, her kit is essentially every 3 auto attacks, she'll shoot like kind of extra bolts that hits the enemy backline, or at least the nearest units. The nearest 3 units. So this means that Rage Blade is going to be extremely good on her because she is purely an auto attack based unit, Infinity Edge to allow her ability to crit, and then also Gunblade to help her frontline stay alive, help her stay alive as well, especially against these Twitch boards, and also to really synergize with the Rage Blade and scale up. Scar is going to be your main resistance tank. So what I mean is like Gargoyles, Val, Helm, Declaw, Bramble Guard, Crown Guard. These are going to be the items you want to put on Scar. However, health-based items want to be going on the Garen, such as Warmogs, Redemption, and even Shroud. On the actual level 6 board, it doesn't matter too much who you put the Garen items on, either the Vladimir or Vander, whoever you have upgraded, but eventually on level 8, you'll transfer them over. This is what your final board is going to look like. So as I mentioned, you really want to be playing that 4 Firelights and getting that Firelight emblem. Caitlyn will go over the Kog'Maw, and you'll be adding in Echo, Garen, and whatever Watcher you don't have on that level 6 board. Firelight +1 is going to be your best augment for this composition. Portable Forge, fishing for those artifacts on 2-1 can tailor you into this composition. Immovable Object, these Watchers have no built-in armor or magic resist, so this will be extremely strong. Also, the stronger your frontline is, the easier your Zeri is able to stack up her Rage Blade and keep everyone alive with the Gunblade. Pumping up because we are purely attack speed or auto attack based composition, and then Caretakers and Worth the Wait. A couple other new ones that we haven't talked about yet: Watcher Crest or Crown and Investment Strategy. So Watcher +1, you will be wanting to take this on stage through onward. You don't want to be taking this on 2-1 and then transfer and then playing Zeri. Investment Strategy, you want to be taking if you already have a Zeri and at least some Watchers on 2-1, and it is a Gold Start Galaxy. If it is not a Gold Star Galaxy, I think it's a little bit harder to take Investment Strategy, and you'll be a little bit behind tempo and just not be able to make that great use of the Augments. In the regards of positioning, you want to make sure that Zeri is away from CC, so away from any Elises, which is extremely contested and just like relevant unit in the current meta, and also away from any generic danger, so position her away from the main damage and CC of the enemy board. Business Law Anomalies. So Zeri's role in this composition is to scale up and eventually kill the backline enemy carries. So she does extremely well into solo frontline or generic solo frontline compositions, because you end up killing kind of the supportive units, and when it is only the solo enemy frontline and then the enemy carry, such as like the Twitch and the Mundo, you end up hitting the Twitch because he has now become the two or three nearest units after the initial target. So even though Zeri is hitting the Mundo, her spark on every 3 auto attacks will be eventually hitting the backline units. This mini-me is extremely good on her because she is auto attack base, bully. The asterisk is the same thing for non-reroll compositions. Strength training, being able to auto attack so much and increase her own attack damage. Call the weak and the finisher is going to be very good as well. As long as you don't have the collector, you can take the finisher. If you are lacking frontline, then you can anomalize the Scar instead. Fortified giant size protective shielding is good as well. If you have a 2-star Garen, you can put these on him as well if Scar is not 3-starred. Extremely good composition right now. A little bit hard to win with unless you really hit that 4 firelights and like a really strong board like Garen 2, Caitlyn 2, but definitely very solid, and you should try this out if you're given a firelight +1. Let's move on now to Tristana reroll. So this composition has been around for a little bit. There are 2 ways to play this comp. So it's either going to be a level 6 reroll with Sentinels, or you're going to be going level 8. The main condition to play this is Caretaker's Ally or Worth the Wait 2. This is going to be a physical damage single target damage board, and you really want to be having either Collector, Sniper's Focus, or Fishbones ideally. You can also take the Rocket Collection Augment to guarantee you a Collector, and you really also want to be playing this if you are dropped a Tristana on stage 1. The main reason why is because Tristana is a stacking attack damage unit. For every unit that she kills with her Cannonball, and also the Cannonball, if it kills someone, then it will ricochet to the nearest enemy as well. You will permanently gain 1 AD. So being able to stack and tempo your Tristana early will allow you to get early attack damage, which will allow you to kill units easier, and eventually you'll be ending the game with around like 50 to like 80 extra attack damage. Let's say you do not have Worth the Wait 2, or if you do not have Caretaker's Ally, this is what your generic Sentinel reroll level 6 board is going to look like. Level to 6 on 3-2, and you really need to hit Tristana 2 so you can start killing units and farming your stacks. Her business law is going to be exactly the same as Zeri's, so Rageblade plus IE plus Gunblade. Snipers and Collectors is also going to be good on her, and in the front line, you either want to be itemizing the Leona or REROLL, depending on which one you have 2-starred first, and then also whoever is closer to 3-star. Even Shroud is very good in this composition because you don't want to be putting the Last Whisper on Tristana. So even Shroud +2, either Redemption, Declaw, Brambles, Sunfire, Val, Warmogs, these are all great. The second Artillers you want to be playing in this composition, at least on level 6, is going to be on Ezreal. Alawi is going to be better on Loris, better than Loris if you're able to hit her on level 6, which will also give you Rebel. The reason why you don't want to be rerolling Urgot in this composition is because Urgots without the experiments and also proper itemization will not be doing that much, so Ezreal will just be a better consistent backline carry. Let's say you do have Caretakers or Worth the Wait, then you want to be tempoing this early 2-star Tristana and go level 8 to play around the 4 Emissary version instead. I believe this I believe this version is stronger, also the stats support it. Same itemization, Rageblade, i.e. Gunblade. Your main tank is now going to be Garen, Warmogs +2. Gargoyles is very good on him because you do not have a lot of frontline in this composition, which is why Gunblade is going to be so important. Redemption, Sunfire, Bramble, Declar are all going to be great as well. I would avoid putting Even Shroud on the Garen because you really want more of a pure tank item on him. So you could be putting this on Urgot and placing him back a little bit to keep him safe, or put a Last Whisper on your Corki or your Ezreal. On level 9, you're going to be wanting to drop the Vladimir and playing a REROLL plus a Rumble for 2 Sentinel, Conqueror, and Scrap. Let's install augments to go along with this composition. So the Sentinel one, I'm going to talk about how to cap this out. I'll cap this one out. So you're eventually going to be wanting to play the Rumble and get this 6 Sentinel in. You can also play a Jace as well. Jace is just a strong unit, give you 3 Academy. Sentinel Crested Crown is very good. You'll be able to drop the Loris in this case and play either like another Academy or just a 5 cost, Portable Forge, Pumping Up, Caretaker's Ally, and Piercing Lotus. If you have Piercing Lotus, you don't have to be building this Infinity Edge. You could build either a Giant Slayer, you could build a Guard Breaker. These are all fine on her. And then you also do not have to build early Shred or Sunder. Starry Night Prismatic Ticket, Rocket Collection, Over Encumbered, and Investment Strategy. Same idea. If you have an early Tristana and Sentinels on 2-1 plus a gold start, then you could take Investment Strategy. The way you want to position this composition is you want Tristana right in front of the main enemy carry if they have one. For example, if they have like a Camille, if they have like a Nocturne, Tristana has a lot of single target damage, so she is really able to kill these enemy melee carries in 1 cast, maybe even 2. Just make sure that your Even Shroud and Sunfire Cape are on the same side. Let's install Anomalies. So as I just mentioned, Tristana's role in this comp is to kill enemy melee carries ASAP and also to scale with this Rageblade and Gunblade. Because she gets so much permanent AD, that is where Attack Expert is going to be the best on, being able to increase how much AD that your champion has. Comeback story, she has no built-in damage amp in her kit unless you're going the 4 Emissary version. Bully is good, Call of the Week, and also the finisher is going to be great as well. And our last comp of the day, Nocturne Reroll. This has been around for a bit. It's still very good. The main condition to play is having a range artifact, either a Snipers, a Fishbones, or an RFC. This is going to be a level 6 physical damage burst board, and there are going to be 2 ways that you could be playing this, dependent whether or not you have an Automata +1. So let's say you don't have an Automata +1, you want to be playing the Sentinel version. In this version, you can be re-rolling Akali as well, but you want to be playing the Loris, Leona, Rel, and Irelia, at least early game. You will be eventually dropping the Leona for Alawi, which will give you Rebel as well. If you do have an Automata +1, then you eventually want to be capping it with 6 Automata and playing 4 Automata on level 6. Scar is a rather flex unit. You could play a 2-star Watcher, you could play a Dominator, just whatever you hit on level 6. And in both of these, you want to be leveling to 6 on 3-2 and rolling for Nocturne 2 plus the supporting units depending on which board you're playing. Regardless of which board, the best in slot stays the same. Range artifact plus Infinity Edge plus damage amp. Because Nocturne is going to be safer with this range, you do not need healing as much, and you don't need crowd control reduction as much, at least in the early game. Eventually, Elise's might give you a little bit of a hard time, so you can keep this in mind with your itemization. Deathblade, Guardbreaker, and Giant Slayer are all going to be the best 3rd item on Nocturne. In the Automata version, Twisted Fate will be holding your Shred and your healing reduction. Remember, with Automata now, you'll be dealing a lot of magic damage with this trait, which is why a Shiv is going to be quite good, and he is a great holder of either a red buff or a Morello. For the Akali Real version, Loris is going to be holding your Sunder and your heal cuts, and Akali will be your secondary carry, which is best with Hodge Jewel Gauntlet as her main items. This is how you cap out both boards. In the Sentinel non-Automata version, you're eventually going to play the Alawi, get invested in here for 4 Quick Striker, and cap with Malzahar. And a Malzahar will eventually hold your heal cuts, such as your Morello or your Sunfire, or your Morello or your red buff if you do not have a Sunfire cape. In the Automata +1, you're also going to be playing this Malzahar. You want to be playing a Dominator such as Dr. Mundo. Eventually, you're going to be wanting to put this onto the Mordekaiser if you have extra items for him, such as a Quicksilver or an Edge of Night. And with 6 Automata, you really want to make sure that you have some sort of shred to allow this proc to deal more damage. Ideally, you want to be rerolling this Blitzcrank as well to grant you extra frontline, and Blitzcrank with 6 Automata, kind of similar to Sentinel, has a lot of built-in armor and magic resist, so healing such as Redemption and Declaws can be great on him, and durability such as the Steadfast Heart, which works even greater since he has a start of combat shield with Dominator and is able to stay above 50% HP quite well. Best slot augments, Portable Forge, Living Forge is going to be the best. Fishing for one of these fish bones, part of the pun, Sniper's Focus, and also the RC. Automata +1, Quick Striker +1, you'll be dropping a couple here. So if you hit Quick Striker +1 in this version, you do not have to reroll the Akali, and you can kind of tempo a little bit easier. Or if you have them, then you could drop the Twisted Fate. However, in the Automata version, you are 100% dropping the Akali because she doesn't have Rebel, and you'll be just putting this on a Malzahar late game and Kog'Maw mid game. Caretaker's Ally worth the wait 2, very good. Piercing Lotus, now you do not have to build this Infinity Edge, you can go a Quicksilver and you'll have an easier time against these Elises, and Adrenaline Rush is going to be good as well as a 3-2 augment. Last but not least, our best in slot anomalies here. Nocturne's role in this composition is to just burst through the enemy frontline, so you don't want to be putting this on Akali, you don't want to be putting this on Blitzcrank. You want to be putting this on Nocturne, giving him some damage amp. Comeback Story is going to be his best. Bully, quite good as well. Call the Weak, Finisher, Titanic Strike is all going to be very good. You can even do Invisibility. However, with the extra range, you don't need that defensive portion of that anomaly as much as if you were, compared to if you were one ranged and going like the Quicksilver build. Okay, and that is everything for today. So I'll do a quick recap of everything that we talked about, and we're gonna end it off here. So we talked about 5 reroll compositions that each have their own conditions. Urgot reroll being the best right now, like definitely S tier. If you have Unleash the Beast, if you have Innervating Locket, if you have like Death's Defiance, these are gonna be great conditions to play this Urgot reroll. Camille is all about artifacts, right? So if you have the Spectral Cutlass, if you have the Silver Mirror Dawn, or if you have the Prowler's Claw, which the Prowler's Claw and the Spectral Cutlass are going to be the 2 best. Zeri reroll, a little bit more flexible, right? If you really want a Firelight +1, this is going to be the main thing about Zeri reroll. Getting that 4 Firelights, which will give you that extra attack speed, is going to be huge. Cap it with 6 Watcher. Tristana reroll, worth the wait, 2, or if you have Caretaker's Ally, being able to secure that Tristana 3 and go into level 8 Emissary is going to be your strongest route. If not, then you're going to be rerolling on level 6 for your Sentinels. And then Nocturne, the very last one, the main condition is to be having a range artifact. If you have a range artifact, Nocturne, Nocturne 3, and you take your top 4 with a smile. So that's been everything. If you learned something from today's video, make sure you join the Discord, follow me on Twitch. I stream once about every 2 days, and videos come out once every 2 days as well. So it's like video stream. That is the current schedule. Thanks again. I'm Max. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Best of luck in your games, and I'll see you soon. Take care.